Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content I've been putting up, be sure to subscribe so you always know when a new video pops up. Now that we got that part out of the way, let's get into the video. Final Fantasy XIV is a massive game with thousands of hours of content. What I'm going to do here is break down some of the major plot points for those of you who want to know more about Eorzea, but may not have time to experience it all firsthand. This time we're picking up with the fourth part of the battle for the Bozjan Southern Front. Back in Gongos, Marsek lets you know that they found out where the 4th Legion's last stronghold is. They've abandoned Castrum Lacus Latore and are gathering at Zadnor. The Resistance has already sent some soldiers to their stronghold, but they have a fleet of warships guarding it, so it's not that easy to get into. The good news is, since Gunhilda is no longer around to temper his troops, Bozjan is sending his reserve forces out to Zadnor. And of course, you're going too. Zadnor is nothing like the Bozjan front. The area hadn't exactly been safe even before the Legion took over. The 4th Umbral Calamity caused the area to become overcharged with Earth Ether, and miners settled in and took all of the valuable resources from the land. Once they were all gone, the settlers left, leaving the land empty until the Imperials built their outpost there. To make matters worse, they brought in a lot of ships from Dalmasca, led by the Dalriada. The massive warship hasn't moved since it landed, but it's in a spot that makes it extremely dangerous. But Bozjan doesn't think it'll be a better base than Castrum was if they don't give them time to get settled in. He's ready to push the Legion out of his lands, but first the airships that keep flying overhead and dropping bombs have to be dealt with. And fortunately, Cid shows up to lend a hand. The first thing he does is let you all know that some of the damage to the land, like the floating rocks for instance, were caused by the Bozjan incident. When Dalamud crashed, the damage it did spread far and wide, so of course Bozja wasn't spared either. There's a plus side to that. Cid used the altered ether to build a barrier around the base to protect them from airstrikes, with a few supplies from the Dalmascan Resistance and a bit of creativity from Eorzea. She may be new and a bit goofy, but apparently she really is brilliant. The barrier only covers the base itself, so if the Dalriada starts to get into the fight, the soldiers on the front lines won't make it, especially since neither the Eastern Alliance nor the Bozjans have any airships of their own. But with all the extra ether in the land, and Cid getting pressured into helping, they have somebody who can figure out a way to deal with the warship. Since the Domans, the Ironworks, and of course the Warrior of Light is helping out, Bozjan feels that the only way to repay his allies is to win. So you all get to work. And Eorzea and Makoto already have work for you to do. The Resistance wants to advance on the Legion, but to do that they need protection, which means they need some more of those barriers. While there's a lot of residual ether, it's not enough to make more outposts, so you'll have to redirect some of the ether currents. The Ironworks has built a device to do just that, and they need you to put it in a few different locations for them, a lot like what you did on the Southern Front. While you do that, Cid will work on dealing with the Dalriada. It takes Makoto and Eorzea a bit of time to find a good spot for the devices, but once they do, you head out into the field to place them. Zadnor is extremely dangerous outside of the barriers, but of course you manage to set the first device so they can see if the things actually work at all. When you make it back, Makoto's echo shows you a vision of her and Cid on an airship. An Imperial ship swoops in to attack them, and Makoto throws up a barrier to block it, only to get knocked over the side of the ship, while you look up from the battlefield below, unable to help. Both of you saw the vision, but Makoto decides to keep it from Eorzea, and she wants you to do the same, especially since nothing can change her visions anyway, and if she has to die to help win the war, she's okay with it. While Eorzea is checking on the results of the ether manipulation, Bozjan is trying to decide on what to do with Masija. The people want her executed right away, but he thinks she should be put on trial and given a fair sentence. While she did commit some crimes, she was a soldier, so her superiors should be the ones to take the brunt of the blame for her actions, a sentiment that the Warrior of Light agrees with. With the results in from the device you set out, a new barrier is made and the Bozjans are able to craft another outpost, taking more land on their path to the Dalriada. But they need to get closer, which means you have to place more devices. You take down more Imperials as you get the devices set in place, and move closer and closer to the Legion's parked warship. While the Resistance works on pushing the Legion further back, Eorzea and Makoto are trying to figure out just how to deal with the Dalriada itself. They found something, so Eorzea goes to Doma to bring it to Cid, but not before asking if Makoto wanted her to send a love letter to the man since she's too shy to talk to him about her feelings. She's always had a hard time being normal, and she spent a lot of her life being a scholar, so she doesn't even really know how to deal with people. She does like Cid, although she claims she only thinks of him as a friend. Survey says that's a lie, but we're in a war, so there are more important things to do than worry about Makoto's love life. However, Geralt overhears, and he doesn't have anything better to do than worry about it. Well, he should be making me weapons, but since it'll take me forever to gather all of the parts for my new relic, he does have time for a break or two. Meanwhile, the 4th Legion is still hard at work on their newest toy. Menenius tells Lion that they still need time, something he's not happy about since the Resistance is getting closer to them. He thinks it'll be best to withdraw to Dalmasca and regroup with the rest of the Legion, but Menenius refuses to run away and leave all the things they found for the Resistance to grab. So, to buy some time, he sends Lion out to delay you, something he has no problem doing. As more and more battles are fought, the Resistance sets up another outpost even closer to the Dalriada. Along the way, they find out why the Legion came to Zadnor in the first place. There are Allagan relics on the plateau, which makes this situation almost identical to how the 14th Legion found the Ultima weapon underneath Alamigo. The scouts say that what the Legion has found is big, so they may have found something exactly like the Ultima weapon, or worse. The thing's been fully dug up, but they haven't loaded it into the Dalriada yet, probably because Menenius plans on testing the weapon on you, which means you have to deal with them before they can do it. Cid's already got an idea on how to do that too, and it involves the crystal focus that's been used a lot out in Bozja. He plans on using it to cause the ceruleum fueling the Dalriada to explode. Of course, you'll need a lot of ether for that, but if it works, he'll be able to disable the ship. However, you still need to get close to it. Bwagi offers to let him use his airship to carry the focus since it's fast enough to make it close to the warship without getting shot down. Basar Jin will have his forces attack on the ground to keep the Legion distracted while you plan another one of the devices to redirect the ether near the Dalriada. Cid modified this one so when they fly over the device with the focus, the ether will be channeled to it. Since Cid is one of the best pilots around, he plans on flying the ship himself as a means of making up for what his father did to Bozja, which led to all of this in the first place. Remember, in her vision, Makoto decides to go with him, because even though she saw herself fall, she did stop an attack that would have definitely taken down the ship. You don't want to admit it, but when Cid asks, you tell him that you saw it too. However, before you can say more, Makoto stops you, which makes Cid agree to let her come with him, after they head to Doma to finish some last minute work on his new weapon. Lilja tries to get a reading on the right ether current, but she can't find one, so she sends you out to set up another sensor. A few Imperials try to stop you, but they're no match for you, and you deal with them and plant the device. When you make it back to the camp, Lilja and Bwagi corner you and finally make you tell them what you and Makoto really saw. Bwagi wants to find a way to stop her from falling off the ship, but when Makoto sees something, it always happens. But since she didn't see herself die, that means there's still a chance to save her. Meanwhile, still locked in her cell, Masija thinks about what Queen Gunhilda had said to her at the end that had made her stop herself from killing the Bozjans. She told her that she had forgotten what it meant to be the queen. Her job was to save Bozja, and there's no Bozja without the people. With all of the preparations complete, it's time for everyone to play their part while Cid disables the Dalriada. Even with all of his preparations, Cid doesn't know how close he needs to get for his device to work against the warship, so he wants everyone to be ready to fall back, just in case things go wrong like they usually do. But this time they won't, because Makoto already saw that this part succeeds. But of course that's not the only thing that can go wrong. There's still Menenius and Lion to deal with. Regardless, this will be the final battle for Bozja. Everyone heads out to play their part, which means you and Lilja go to plant the device that will send the ether up to Cid. A lot of soldiers show up to stop the two of you, but you deal with them, letting Lilja do what she needs to do. And that's the end of things going smoothly, because the Dalriada powers up and fires the Allagan weapon they found at Cid. Their ship is quick enough to dodge the attack, but the shockwave damages Cid's weapon, making it lose its link to Lilja's device. On the ground, Lion is having fun bringing down Bozjan soldiers, and since the device is no longer linked to the airship, Lilja has to send up a flare so Cid can find her and link the ether to his weapon manually. Now, I'm sure you know that shooting a flare on an active battlefield doesn't just tell your friends where you are, but your enemies too, and they show up in force, shooting rockets at you and Lilja. She's hurt, badly, but she manages to activate the link before she passes out. Cid's device works, and the Dalriada is forced to make an emergency landing. That's when Makoto's vision plays out and she's knocked from the airship. However, Fran swoops in on a mount that I definitely want, and catches Makoto. Granted, she should still be extremely dead, But we'll just ignore the physics and celebrate the fact that not only did Makoto survive, but the plan worked. Step 1's complete. However, Lilja's injuries are bad and she has to be sent to Doma for emergency surgery. Makoto wants to go with her because she feels responsible, because you know people always feel like it's somehow their fault when one of their friends gets hurt. True or not, they head off while you, along with your reinforcements from Dalmasca, go to attack the Dalriada and finish this war. Aboard the ship, Lion is trying to get Menenius to realize that they've lost and they need to retreat. He gets it, but he refuses to let the Resistance get the relic. He plans on evacuating his troops, dropping the relic back in the hole where they found it, and blowing up the ship to seal it in, killing himself in the process as penance for his failure. Lion refuses to let his friend go out like that. He's going to help him deal with the relic, and then they'll both go report their failure to Gabranth, and deal with the consequences. It doesn't take that much convincing to get Menenius to agree. Meanwhile, the Save the Queen sword teleports itself into Masija's cell, and when she touches it, it takes her away. With your new allies leading the charge, you all fight your way into the Dalriada. The Legion is not playing around when it comes to keeping you out. They do everything from sending massive machines at you to using Auracite to transform into powerful Lucavi. But that doesn't stop you from reaching the heart of the ship where Menenius is waiting in front of the Allagan monstrosity that is locked in some type of prison. Menenius is having a hard time taking you all on by himself, even with his impressive mech suit, so Lion joins in the fight. Now let's just take a second to realize that Lion is 68 years old. So apparently the two things that don't matter in Eorzea are age and fall damage. With a lot of effort, you bring the two down, but Menenius has no intention of letting you leave the ship alive. He goes to activate the self-destruct, but the Allagan thing that they have locked up shatters the restraints and attacks. Menenius is shocked because the restraints could have held the Ultima weapon, which means this thing is way stronger. It breaks the platform that you're all standing on, but you manage to jump to safety. Then you jump down to do what you do best and fight the Allagan weapon. But this thing is a little bit different from the Allagan relics you're used to. The Diablo armament is a bioorganic weapon designed to be a vessel for a powerful void scent. Probably Diabolos, judging from the way it looks and attacks. And it is strong. Very strong. But with a long fought battle, you manage to knock it down. Bozjan and the others arrive and he catches sight of the unconscious Lion and Menenius. He sends his men to grab them, but beams of energy burst from where Diablo had fallen, forcing you all to retreat. You all run away as the thing flies back into battle. It attacks Lion and he gets ready to accept his death, but Menenius takes the hit for his friend before Diablo flies outside and unleashes his power on the land. It builds up for an attack that would destroy you all, but Masija and Queen Gunhilda appear and attack it, destroying the relic and saving you all. The Save the Queen sword falls to the ground, and you find Masija lying on the ground nearby. They try to heal her, but her injuries are too severe. Not that it mattered, because she was a traitor to Bozja. Had she lived, she would have likely been executed anyway. She asks you to finish her off so she can at least have an honorable death, but Bozjan steps up to grant her request. With that, the battle's over. The remnants of the 4th Legion that were in Bozja are scattered, and everyone heads back to Gongos to celebrate their victory. Bozjan's already started working on the constitution for their new nation, and after what happened to Masija, he plans on merging the principles of Bozja with those of the 4th Legion, so people won't have any reason to be discriminated against by class. He understood why Masija and others turned on Bozja. The nation wasn't fair to everyone, but this time he plans on making sure that it is. Just because some good ideas came from their enemies didn't mean they weren't good ideas. And he won't throw them away just because he didn't like the people who thought of them. That's a mark of a good leader, and that made me respect the man far more than I did when this all started. Even more good news comes when Sid and Makoto make it back. Lilja is doing fine after her surgery, although she's trying to leave the hospital a bit early. But after Sid threatens to send Jesse to watch her, she settles down. Fran offers you her gratitude, but the war isn't really over until she gets Gabranth out of Dalmasca, which means we'll be going there at some point in the future. While everyone's celebrating, Makoto heads off to check on the Save the Queen. The weapon's ether reserves are completely gone, so the essence of Queen Gunhilda is gone, which means the Queen died yet again to save her people. Out in Dalmasca, Lion returns to Gabranth to let him know what happened, and while his reaction isn't as strong as Lion thought it should be since he lost one of his most loyal followers, 3 things need to be taken note of. First, is Gabranth doesn't have much time left to complete his mission, so he's likely sick. Second is Lion has to be punished for the failure in Bozja, so the soldiers won't think that failures won't have consequences. And third, and probably the most important, the Diablo weapon and the Save the Queen were only 2 of the relics Menenius had found in Bozja. Apparently he'd found 2 more, and these 2 managed to make it back to the Legion, and I can guarantee you they'll prove as deadly as the other 2. This concludes the story of the Bozjan Resistance and the Save the Queen. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video.